to me, the traditional role of a CEO or a businessman was somebody, probably a good student, and probably went to college or university. I was none of that. There was times throughout my career that I thought, I'm a fraud. I had a great idea. I put together a great team. Beyond that, though, what have I done? Like, well, I don't deserve this place. I don't deserve this seat. I'm a poser. I know how to act like a CEO. I'm faking it. I'm faking it.
Hey there. Welcome to the Peakality Podcast, your new favorite spot for unlocking the best version of yourself. Ready to level up your life? We've got you. We're all about blending technology with human wisdom and the drive to be better, personally and professionally. Each week, we dig into the real stuff, strategies, tools, and mindsets that cut through the noise and help you thrive. No fluff, just practical insights from experts, thought leaders, and people who've been there, done that. And we're here to break it all down into easy steps. Whether you're kicking off a fresh start or a physician seeking to inspire your patients, we've got stories, tips, and tricks to inspire growth in each area of life. Your peak potential's calling, starting right now. Hit subscribe, join our crew, and let's move forward today. Today's guest is Mark Steiner, co-founder of Gig Salad, the event marketplace that has connected thousands of performers and clients across the country and built at the intersection of his two greatest passions, entertainment and human experience. Mark has spent his career leading with emotional intelligence, building with both vision and intention, and surrounding himself with people who complement his strengths. But what makes his story especially compelling isn't just what he's built, it's the evolution behind it. In recent years, Mark has stepped into a deeper level of self-discovery, choosing sobriety, receiving an ADHD diagnosis later in life, and re-examining his identity through the lens of adoption and personal truth. He's also channeling that growth into new creative work, including his own podcast, Peace, Love, and Gigs. Today's conversation isn't just about entrepreneurship. It's about what it looks like to strip away the noise, ask harder questions, and redefine who you are on the other side of success. Mark, welcome to the Peakality Podcast. Literally, we were just starting the conversation as we even just say hello.
Yes.
And
Hello.
it's so important because I think that, like we said, it's just how you kind of like walk into the room. I always say that we're like an ingredient.
Yes.
When we walk into a room, it's like a soup, and everyone is bringing their own type of ingredient to that soup. And are you
Yes.
sour? Are you sweet? Are you the
Oh, wow.
foundation of that,
Oh,
mixture?
yeah.
Or are you something that people don't even know that it's there? So,
That's great.
yeah.
I've not heard that before.
Yeah.
That's
So I
really
was just
good.
think of like when you're walking into a room, just think of it as,
What am I bringing to this soup?
yeah,
This
what am I
this
bringing to this
recipe?
soup? Yeah. Is it,
Yeah.
and does it bring any value? And
Good
sometimes you
stuff,
don't need,
Courtney. Thank you
yeah.
for this time. I'm
Yeah.
going
It's
It's
like
awesome.
a co-therapy session for both of us. Like,
Yeah,
yes.
exactly. Yeah, 2 minutes in and already I'm feeling better.
I know.
Know some stuff.
I love it. I love it. Well, this time, I sincerely appreciate your time to do this, and I'm really excited for the audience to learn more about you and who you are and what you've done and how you got to where you are. And again, back to the beginning, just really understand your persona and what that looks like for you and all the success that you've achieved and how you've achieved it.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm excited.
I am too.
Yeah. So why don't we just start at the beginning and how you even like where you started in business and how you even gravitated to where you are today? Like what was the beginning of that journey?
Okay. Well, I grew up in New Jersey. My father was a businessman. Uh, and not that I didn't admire my father, but I didn't ever even consider that I would be a businessman. I didn't think I would uh, work in corporate America for whatever that image was of myself. I knew my father dressed in a suit every day. He'd go to the office. He traveled a lot. He worked for RCA. That was a big brand, and I was proud that my father worked for RCA for whatever reason. But I didn't want to go that route. For me, I always wanted to be an entertainer. I wanted to be a performer. I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to be a musician. I wanted to be on a stage. I wanted to be on camera. I wanted to be bigger than being a businessman. I wanted to be bigger than life and itself. And so that's how I always imagined. And then, as I'm growing up, I get into high school and I still have this dream in the back of my head, but I'm starting to get a little directionless. I didn't consider myself a great student. And we can get into that later, but a late in life diagnosis of ADHD explained that portion of it. But I started to party and I just wasn't, I knew I didn't want to go to college. I knew I wasn't college material. I participated in a culinary arts program. It was a vocational program that my high school offered. And I thought, I like food. I could imagine myself being a chef because for whatever reason, I wasn't doing anything to hone the craft of being a great actor or a great musician for that part. I was not even leaning into those things. And I thought, okay, the culinary arts is where I'm going to go. Then I did my senior musical and I was like, no, 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 this is what I really love. This is what I'm going to do. And that's what I went off to do. I did not go to college. I toured around the country with a children's theater troupe, and then moved to New York to try to break into the business. And I got a lucky break. I got a job doing production in movies. And I just went from one job to another. And I ended up having a 10-year career in the movie business. And during that time, I was able to apply my culinary arts background. I actually honed in on, okay, I ran a craft service company. If you know what that is, craft service is a job that caters to the cast and crew on movie sets. Just always has food around and drink and stuff. And then I got a part and I bounced back and forth between doing some acting and running my craft service company. But that was the beginning of me being an entrepreneur. Like I had my own company that I managed. I had a crew, and that was my first foray into being a businessman to some degree. And then I became a booking agent and I worked for somebody else for a number of years. I'm really bopping around here, but then I started my own agency. And again, I think I always levitated towards I needed to be in control. I thought I could do it better. I want my independence. I want my autonomy. I want to do it my way, that sort of thing. And so I started my own agency. I owned my own booking agency. It became a speakers bureau and sort of evolved. And then that morphed into what is Gig Salad today. So I stumbled my way through by being scrappy, and all of a sudden, I've always been a person with big ideas, and one of those ideas took. I leaned into this idea. I found a partner. We started to develop it, and voila, 20 plus years later, I'm a founder of and CEO of a company that's the leader in this little niche of, as an event marketplace, we're number one. It all seems very accidental, Courtney. None of it seemed particularly deliberate. I just sort of followed my bliss on one hand. I designed my life, but I sort of stumbled into all of it. And I just, here I am. I'm a businessman, I guess, to some degree. And it's not ever what I thought. I've discovered that for all of the right side of the brain that I thought was all I had, because I didn't think in terms of me being even logical, I just didn't ever intellect. I didn't think I had that capacity. I always thought I'm just a creative. I'm just an inventor. I'm a maker. And I'm a performer. I'm an artist. These are the terms. These are how I would have described myself. But it turns out I did have this other ability over here that was able to organize and understood culture and how to make things grow. I was a visionary, and I had this emotional intelligence that I discovered that I didn't even know was a thing. I'm definitely the classic accidental CEO. I'm the person who just one day, "Oh,
Amazing.
here I go. I'm doing this thing." Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that it's remarkable to really, as we had opened up the conversation about the humility of peak performers and how they really look at themselves with humility and but willingness to learn. And I think that what exactly as the conversation offline started, I mean, that's exactly what you've described is that while you wanted to surround yourself with creative people and you found yourself creative, and that's definitely the avenue that you went one way or another, you found that you were beyond just one kind of perception of yourself and willing to learn um, the things that you needed to learn in order for you to stay in that environment that you knew that really nurtured your soul. And that's that creativity, which is just beautiful. And I love that. And you mentioned that you have ADHD. Now, how do you feel as though that helped you or hindered you along your path within your career?
Yeah, well, that happened again, that was an accident. My daughter got diagnosed first. She was in law school, and she was having some struggles with testing. And we knew she had some, she had been diagnosed with some anxiety, so she was treating that, but she went and got screened for ADHD, and sure enough, she had it. She was telling me about her symptoms, and I had this like dumbfounded look, like, yeah, that's a thing. You're telling me who I am. And I did not know nothing for ADHD. I just didn't I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it meant. I knew that I had always been a little off in some way. I knew I didn't necessarily think like others. And so I went and got screened, and sure enough, I have it too. And this was just 2.5 years ago. I mean, I just turned 60. So I was 57 and a half or so when I got my diagnosis. And the initial response was, oh, it was a little bit of relief like,
Like
that
it all
explains
makes sense now.
it all makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then there was a little bit of remorse, and I think a little bit of there was a mourning, I think, because I immediately started reflecting on my entire life. And like I said, I could recognize very young that I was in the clouds. I was a daydreamer. I was I was fantasizing most of the time. I walked through life as if I was constantly on a movie set, and that my life was just I'm an actor in this thing, and I am constantly acting. Well, as it turns out, that's a symptom. Like, that's masking. I was masking constantly. I was shape shifting and becoming the role that I thought was appropriate at any given time. And so when it came to the business world, I had some idea in my head that was probably mostly created from what I saw in movies and TV shows, some of what maybe my father taught me about his day at the job. But I thought, well, this is what a CEO does. This is what a CEO acts like, kind of, sort of. It wasn't that deliberate necessarily. I mean, I had this idea. We start to build a business, and then you just start to do what needs to be done initially. And that's what I did. I just filled roles. And, but then, clearly leaned into this idea that I'm a leader here. And all the while, as I said, all the while, I did not know about this condition. I was just doing what came natural to me. So then when I get the diagnosis, I'm now all of a sudden rethinking everything. I'm trying to decide at this stage of my life, do I need to treat this per se? I've gotten this far without knowing and doing just fine. Like, I found success in spite of this thing. Maybe because of this thing, it's hard to say. I definitely learned throughout my life how to spin a lot of plates, how to juggle a lot of balls, how to hyperfixate when I need to and focus when I need to, how my being easily distraction is actually sometimes a strength. I can think about multiple things at once. And so, yeah, there was a bit of, it's very conflicted. And I'm still to some degree, like always thinking about this. I love to talk about this, frankly. I love to talk to people like you, Courtney, for what you offer, and you're leaning into peak performance and trying to understand and study people in this space, whether it's A-type people or CEOs, what have you. And so it's complicated. I think I've made peace with it. Like
And when you
I've
say
learned.
you've made peace with it, I guess the question is, I mean, it seems like everything that you're describing and everything that you're saying, many people would find that as advantageous. I mean, you're able to look at many things at one time. You're able to focus on one of the things, step into a role that's needed. I mean, which is, I think, very much your acting creative side, but you're able to channel that and focus in the business and play the business role and act that persona per se. So everything that you're saying, I mean, in many ways, I see it as only strength. And it's just interesting that in many ways you look at it as almost a hindrance in what you had to, but I see it as your unique strength that many people do not possess. And so it's just interesting when talking to some, they're like, well, I wish I had done this and I was able to do and look at things from a different perspective, but I focused on what it was that I was good at. But it seems as though that you are the opposite. You've got a plethora of strengths that it's now forces you to choose one, but you're able to carry the hat from many different ways, which is, again, to me, a complete strength. So, and you say that you've come to terms with it, and I think that it's because your mind is constantly going, that it's almost like, well, when do I get to rest and when am I at peace? But I
Mhm.
think that that's where the strength is that it's constantly searching for and hunting for the creative outlet.
Yeah.
And it's like the painter that's looking, are they ever satisfied with their paintings?
Right.
I feel that that's you describing your art and business and how you handle your art and business. I mean, that's my perception of this conversation, which is super interesting
Thank you.
to hear your perspective of it.
Well, it's why I like hanging out with people like you, Courtney, because you can put positive spin on it,
Yeah.
and this lends to our conversation about humility.
Yeah.
And I definitely lean further into my deficiencies I have by nature. Yeah,
Sure.
and I'm not sure if that's an ADHD thing.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if there's another component here that um, played a role throughout my life. I was adopted, so I think there was this part of me that um, felt I was compensating for what I perceived or thought was rejection
Sure.
or abandonment.
Yeah.
And even though that wasn't the case, it
No.
was
Yeah.
a mother doing a very selfless, loving thing. But the stories we tell ourselves. So for me, I've often focused on my weaknesses, and it's insecurity. It's not a great thing. But I always felt like I was compensating for something. I was trying to prove something, and I've made peace with that narrative wasn't entirely true and maybe true at all. And learning that I am enough just as I am, including that I have this condition and that I think so differently. To me, the traditional role of a CEO or a businessman was somebody that, for whatever reason, was somebody that was probably a good student and probably went to college or university and probably went to business school or managerial school or whatever, possibly even got their MBA. And I was none of that. And I was none of that. So there was times throughout my career that I thought, I'm a fraud. I like I I had a great idea. I put together a great team. Beyond that, though, what have I done? Like, what? I don't deserve this place. I don't deserve this seat. It was sort of that, like I said, accidental CEO. This, I'm a poser. I know how to act like a CEO. Act like a CEO. So I'm faking it. I'm faking it. This is just the space where my mind normally went for the better part of my life. I have done better over the past 20 years. I've worked really hard.
That's interesting because I think many CEOs feel the same way and peak performers that they're constantly trying to learn how to be a better version of themselves
Mhm.
and keep pushing and looking for the areas in which there is weakness and looking for the areas in which there's a potential, even though the idea of weakness is really just illusion in and of itself, right?
Is
And that we have to recognize. But
Mhm.
it's interesting because, one of my questions gonna ask you was once you reach success, like legitimate success, what was it that you felt or what was it that what did it feel like then when you were there? And it's interesting to say that you felt like you were a fraud in many ways. And I think a lot of CEOs do because they're like, who am I to step into this role? Even when they have the MBA, they're like,
Mhm.
I memorized things in school. That doesn't mean that I'm good at this. So
Right.
did you find that you ever you were sabotaging yourself in some way, or did you find that you really sought people that compensated your weaknesses? When you found in these situations, what did you end up doing to try and navigate around them so that you continue to move forward?
Yeah. Well, it started with I had a co-founder. I knew I wanted to do business with this friend of mine. He was a friend first. Um, and I knew that he had certain strengths and I felt like if I had anything, if I was going to give myself credit for anything, it was like I had moxie. I had I had grit. I was a streetwise. I knew how to sell. That had been proven. Somebody, sort of and empowered me and said, "Hey, I think you'd be a good agent." And it turned out it was true. Like I was a good agent. I thought I can be charming. I care about people and I wanna do good by people, and I want their approval, and so just going at it from the standpoint of I want what's best for people, and if I can provide that, I'm gonna do it, and so I had good intentions, and I had heart. I knew I always had heart and passion and love, I just and zest. And I thought if those skills are marketable, if you can do anything with that, then that's what I'm going to do. And so that's what I leaned into. And really it was I what I discovered was I'm a visionary and I can sell ideas and I can sell my ideas. And that's where I started. So that's where, there's this showman in me. Like I'm Barnum and Bailey here. I can like, come on, just gather around me, everybody. We're going to build a tent and we're going to put on a show and it's going to be the best show you've ever seen kind of thing. And that's what I did. That's the natural thing that came to me. And then while doing that, I said, "Hey, I need you and I need you and what you've got and your strength." And I give a lot more credence to the other people's skills. 'Cause and I think and whether that's being humble or not, I don't know if that's just being a good team builder or a good coach. I've always recognized that I couldn't have gotten here without others. I know that's true, and it has gotten better. You asked, how have I accepted my success? It's only been recently that I've really kind of have appreciated or understood that I have been successful, that my company and that I personally as successful as it turns out I am. It's really even it's not easy for me to say that. But it's true. Like
Yeah.
and I'm saying it more deliberately. I appreciate you asking the question or sort of almost forcing me to acknowledge it because I do need to say it more and I do it's like marbles in my mouth though right now. Like I need
Yeah.
to think about the sort of the flow, the organic way of talking about this and not coming across disingenuous or something.
Yeah, but isn't that the irony in of itself of what it is that makes you successful is the humility? Because I think that most people, most performers, again, it is their humility that enables them to just continue to rise above because they are looking for the holes and looking for the pockets, and which enable them to see strengths in others where maybe they're lacking or could help grow. And I think that it's a gift for sure because most people are looking at themselves. And if they are looking at themselves, then they end up not growing. And I've seen it time and time again, especially doing this podcast. It's really
Mm,
fascinating to get to know people and
yes.
really understand how they think and how they look at themselves in the world and business.
Hmm.
And, I think you are one of the most articulate and being able to step into the role of the humility side of the CEO because you've been honest with yourself. And I think that most
Thank you.
CEOs and leaders, they really have to. If otherwise people see straight through,
Right.
if it's inauthentic or not, because so many eyes are on them and how they
Yes.
lead. And I think
Right.
it's really beautiful how you are able to look at it and articulate it, whether you realize it or not. I think
Thank
it's
you.
a really beautiful, beautiful thing. And it's
Thanks.
interesting that, so was it about, I understand that you quit drinking and smoking cannabis or taking cannabis, consuming, I should say. Was that around the same time that you were diagnosed with ADHD? And how did you handle kind of not only addressing your ADHD, but without trying to numb or medicate yourself with that diagnosis?
It was 23. It was, and I decided I was going to just take a break. I thought I was going to take a month of not drinking, and I was not a a frequent drinker by any means. I would maybe have a drink once or twice a week, and a drink, or two. Uh,
In like
after
social settings or something?
exactly,
Yeah,
yeah. We didn't drink at home. I have a full bar at my house. I don't drink. We didn't drink from home. It's
yeah,
still there.
yeah,
It's for guests.
yeah.
But I was having what I felt like was these allergic reactions to alcohol. It was just a single drink was making me feel like I had a hangover the next day. And I've always been conscious of my weight, and so between inflammation and puffiness, I thought this alcohol is not serving me. And it was strictly, but mostly it was ego. It was cosmetic. It was like, I don't want to drink just for that reason. It's aging me. And so I thought I'm going to take a break for 1 month. I'll drink at my daughter's wedding, which was 1 month from the time I said this. And within a couple weeks, I just felt better. I felt a cloud had lifted. There was a fog that wasn't there anymore. And as I said, I wasn't drinking a lot, but just taking out 2 weeks of drinking, I knew that this was something I had to pay attention to. And so my daughter's wedding came and went, and I didn't drink. I did the father of the bride toast with an NA beer, and I've never looked back. And that fall, so then jump to the fall, September, October of that same year, I get diagnosed with ADHD. And it didn't take long for me to start as I'm studying this diagnosis and this condition and learning about how people compensate for it and treat it and process it and on, uh, understanding dopamic, you know, desires and how that all played into my existence. And I realized, oh, alcohol did serve me. I was definitely using it when I was in social settings. It dealt with, social anxieties and things like this. I drank for various reasons. But I'm not drinking now. And so how am I dealing with these same thoughts and conditions I have? Well, when I became an empty nester in 20, I introduced cannabis back in my life. I went for a long time. I started fairly young, smoking cigarettes, then pot, and I had my party years up until I was till I was 23, and then it just all stopped. I just stopped it all. And that went till I was 53, and for the most part. So now I'm doing cannabis again, and I didn't actually realize it until a year or so into my ADHD knowledge, that, oh, it's medicine for me. I'm not a doctor, and I'm not prescribing here, and I'm not making this suggestion or recommendation to anybody else. However, for me, cannabis was something that I didn't do just to sort of make me high. I was doing cannabis because it calmed my brain down. And I have anecdotes where I went from 1,000 thoughts, racing thoughts of rumination, to taking some dose of cannabis, and all of a sudden it went down to one thought. And I realized, oh, this is me talking to my seventh grade self, however age that is. Oh, Mark, that's what's going on right now. That's why you like this right now. That's why you like nicotine. That's why you like cannabis. That's why you like food. Food was always my drug of choice. That was the hardest thing to. And so to this day, I just did it turned out to be, I was doing a 4-month fast from cannabis, a 4-month tolerance check, like how much do I need this? And discovered it served me in many ways. I survived. I was plenty good just as I am, without any substance, without any stimulant, without any crutch. But since we talked last, Courtney, I think I've discovered that it's helpful. I discovered something that I was really tired recently. I've really tired for about the past couple months. And what I've concluded is I have been really tired since November 10th, because my mind,
Stopping.
it never shut down,
Yeah. Yeah.
ever shut down. And
Yes.
I was pushing through, and I was embracing it, because that's where I thrive. I feel like I thrive when I'm busy and doing stuff, almost to a manic state. But I wasn't being a good partner to my mate. I was distracted. I never shut down.
Yeah.
And so this has been in the past 2 weeks since we
Yeah.
talked, and I'm now discovering and rectifying, okay,
It's
it's
okay.
medicine. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, and
And
I think that that's where a lot of people, especially peak performers, because we don't want to look at ourselves as having weaknesses or
right,
having, like you mentioned, a crutch. But at the
right.
same time, we have to recognize that, um, our brains are going a million miles an hour,
Mm,
looking at so many different things. How do
mm,
you enable that, focus and
yes,
for an opportunity to calm the mind down when you're constantly used to racing?
yes.
And people don't understand, it's like a motor that you can't turn off. So obviously I'm ADHD as well. And
Okay.
and so it it,
Yeah,
it is it's like a motor that you cannot shut off. I mean, it's like I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday or day before, and at one time I said three completely different things right in a row, and she goes, "Oh wow, that was very obvious how your brain works, Courtney, right there. Like you had just three things and three sentences back to back." And I was like, "I am so sorry." I was like,
yes.
usually I can control that,
Mhm.
because I can focus on, articulating out one in
Yes.
that conversation.
Yes.
But it was a party and I had so many things going on
Mhm.
that I literally was just it all came out at one time,
Yeah.
just stream of
Yes.
consciousness.
Yes.
And yeah, and it's hard to explain to people that,
Oh, it is.
yeah, because they think that you're either not paying attention
Right.
or not focused, but you're like, I'm super focused. I'm focused
Yes.
on, and I am totally paying attention. I'm also thinking of these 3 million things
That's
behind
right.
you, but
That's
I'm
right.
right there with you.
Yes.
It's hard to
Yeah.
explain that to people.
Yeah. Thank you for articulating that, Courtney. And well, I appreciate your vulnerability of sharing that. That is a real thing. And I so appreciate when people can understand when I'm saying it doesn't turn off, that I'm not being preposterous about that. I am not exaggerating it.
Yeah.
Uh, I
No, not at
really,
all.
I literally believe that on November 9th was the last day that I had it was a toke or whatever I did. Um, from November 10th to well past, it was, like I said, it was 10 days ago.
But it's good you proved to yourself that you can do it, but at the same time it's like, why do you need to put yourself through something when it helps you just manage your emotions, manage your thoughts, be able to get some clarity for a moment,
Yes.
cuz it's like you said, it's the opposite of what most people think when they think of smoking or consuming cannabis,
Right.
and for people with ADHD or ADD, it simply enables us to just be normal
That's it.
and, quote unquote normal and
That's it.
have like
That's right.
one train of thought per
Right.
se and be
Yes.
able to then go really deep in that train of thought and not in a negative paranoid way like most do
Right.
when they consume cannabis. It's
Correct.
more of just a way to filter all those million thoughts into one cohesive thought and
That's
calm
it.
down a little bit. And I
That's
mean,
it.
there's just no other way to explain it. So yeah, I mean, I obviously completely understand. I think cannabis is a great thing
Yep.
within reason, but it is definitely helpful for people that don't want to take prescription drugs that,
Right.
but still want to manage their ADHD or whatever it is that they have.
You said I had a counseling therapy session last night, and it's so wonderful to hear you saying a lot of the very same words. It's very valid. It's validating. It feels good.
Because we don't want to feel like that especially peak performers, like that we have a weakness. But
Right.
right? I mean, but when you talk to peak performers, everyone has a weakness. Everyone. And
Yeah.
whether they mask it with, their focus on whatever it is that they're doing, because
Right.
that's what a lot of them do. Like
Right.
whether it's an athlete that goes back to the gym, whether it is, a chef that just continues to go back in the kitchen and cook something else that they want to experiment with,
Right.
whatever it is, that creativity, that
Yes.
outlet has to be funneled through something.
That's right.
And yeah, we get exhausted because we cannot stop at night, in the morning, like it's constant. And
Yes.
unless you really understand how it works, it's people just don't understand it.
Mm-mm.
It's like you
Mm,
can't help yourself. I tell people all the time, I'm a maniac. I can't help myself. Like
exactly.
it is just who I am. And
Yes.
rather than be apologetic about it, it's just say, okay, let's just to ourselves,
That's
let's
it.
just embrace who we are and recognize what we need in order to help us um, manage our mania,
That's it.
but
That's
which
it.
is really a strength in and of itself.
Yes, it is. That's so funny. The amount of times that Wendy referenced mania last night, which I scared me because I was misdiagnosed once with manic depression. And the way that I finally ended up dealing with it was I said, well, if I know lows, and I did at that time, I knew sadness, I knew depression, and I know highs, I know mania. I'm just gonna pick mania because
Yeah,
mania is positive, and I wanna
totally.
be positive, and I wanna be
Yeah.
optimistic, optimistic about life and it's big and I'm just gonna, and that's what I did in 2004. And I've leaned into it ever since. And what's happened is I've not known a day of depression. I've known sadness. I don't want
Yeah.
to miss, but I've never gotten to a point where depression was a part of me. And I've
Yeah.
just been able to work through the challenges. And I've been, and internally, I embraced the mania, but I didn't want to say to people, I'm a maniac.
Yeah.
It's a,
Yeah.
but I like hearing you say it. And I liked hearing Wendy say it last night, like,
Yeah. Because it's
at least
something.
acknowledging it, just recognizing it
Exactly.
and acknowledging it and that's where I'm making peace with it, Courtney. It's like, okay, mania, there you are. You're sitting in the chair and that is you. And sometimes you're useful and sometimes you're not. I'll let you know when I'll let you in.
And what I had to embrace is, look at all the experiences that you've been able to do and have and witness, and that most people that don't have the mania that you have are perfectly comfortable with what they're doing, and it's hard for them to kind of branch out. And I had a lot of with that personality trait of, well, why do you feel like that you have to go and do this? Like, what is it that you're trying to prove? What is it that you're trying? Like, do you need to be seen? And it's like, no, like, that's the other piece of it that I think when you look at it as like, what am I trying to do? What is it I'm trying to prove? Because you mentioned that earlier, which I
Right.
think is super interesting because for me, it's not about proving anything. It's about doing all the things that I want to do and all the things
That's
I
it.
want to experience and
Right.
not being apologetic about that,
Yes.
and do it in a thoughtful way that I felt like you said earlier that helps people, not just the
Yes.
people that you work with, but the people that are coming to experience your entertainment. It's
Yes.
their escape.
That's it.
So I think it's really beautiful the gift that you have that while we're not like everyone else, it's a strength in and of itself.
It is.
Yeah,
And that's
I
a
think
great
it's
way to
great.
put it. I
Yeah.
I agree with you 100.
And we look back, I think, at childhood. You talked about
Mm.
your adoption and,
Mhm.
back to what's the movie that's playing in your head and my head and anyone's, right? Like you
Mhm.
never know that movie. And what is the character? Like you talked about stepping into characters.
Mhm.
I think that that's amazing that you're able to do that because you are a performer. You're out there and you're big and it's beautiful because it's enabled you to look at non-traditional ways to achieve success. And
Yes.
that's really what I love to talk about is how can we take a different approach than what is standard or the norm,
Yes.
and how do we get there, and how do we look at that and be okay
Yes.
with that and be okay with
That's
ourselves.
yeah.
I think it's really cool. What are you doing now? Like, how is it now that you've achieved, now that you know what it is that you like, what is your goal now in life? Now that you've reached where you are, what is this next chapter? What do you look at for yourself moving forward?
Yeah. It remains in this very moment, and I'm working through this. I am evolving, and my initial reaction was going to be say, "I want more. More, more, more." Um, and and that's the case. I want more for Gig Salad and me as the CEO here. I want more in that I'm doing lots of other projects. I've become a real estate developer and I'm enjoying it a whole lot. And it feeds me and fuels me in many ways and gives me a creative outlet. Um, and then
Interesting that real estate gives you a creative outlet because I do commercial real estate as well.
oh, I know.
Yeah, and it is very much a creative outlet separate
Yeah,
from
right.
legality. Yeah.
I didn't realize a lot of things. This is where I sometimes feel slow. Was I went through a couple years not too long ago where after becoming an empty nester, had the beautiful benefit of being in a position and place with my career that I had a lot of independence, and I could go visit my children at the great location just where they chose to go to school, and could go to Boulder, could go to Nashville, could go to New York and visit them. And I was going to lots of music festivals. And I was just having fun. I was traveling a lot and I was just on this great journey. Um, and though I was having fun, I found myself after a couple years of, but I'm not doing very much. Like I'm not creating. I'm not building something right now. I'm living off of the fact that I had built something, and that's great, but I'm not working. I need to work. And so I started to say, oh, now's my time to lean into being creative. And and up until that point, I thought being creative meant I'm good. That now's my time to be an actor again. I want to pursue. I'm going to be an actor, and I'm going to start playing my instruments again. I'm going to play and write music. I'm going to be a performer. I'm going to be an artist. I haven't been an artist for a long time. I'm going to do that. And whereas that's true, those are things I do want to do, and there are things that I'm doing, but I didn't give enough credence to the fact that me being an entrepreneur was in fact being creative.
Yeah.
Me being a CEO gives me a lot of freedom to be creative. Building a culture meant I was creative, and I didn't look at back to being a businessman, that was being creative. That's when I was like, no, I'm going to figure out how to become an even better CEO than I was. I'm going to not only just be available, let the team know I'm accessible and I want to do this, but I'm going to show them. And that's what so I'm doing that. But then with the real estate, I was like, I love architecture and I love design and creating things. So our model is I'm finding these old industrial, right now we have a 33,000 square foot, great big, huge industrial building that was kind of like a factory. And I'm going to turn it into, guess what? A place for creatives. It's going to
Amazing.
be a place for makers and creatives. And there's going to be a ghost kitchen in it, a
Amazing.
commercial kitchen and a coffee shop, place for people to hang and congregate and community for creatives. So
Love
there'll
it.
be a venue and event space part of it. So yeah, just the strangest places and strangest things can feed us, can
Yes.
fuel types like you and I. And so yeah, I love real estate.
Yeah, yeah. Real estate is definitely it's very creative and it can be very black and white, but it's also a lot of logistics, like processes, just like you
Mhm.
do with entertainment and the coordination of those logistics, right? I mean, because it's a process, it's coordinating all these different pieces and where you are in that process, it's the exact same formula. It's
Mhm.
just putting it into a different um outlet or a different industry.
Yeah.
So I think that it's really cool that you've been able to bring and I love the idea of bringing the creatives together because I always say it's super corny, but 1 plus 1 is 11 because you feed off each other's ideas and you
Absolutely.
just build off of, what that person's saying and, you kind of go have that back and forth. And that to me is so much fun because then you can just build something really great with that.
Yes.
And what you're doing is just building great environments for people to come together
Yes.
and to have community. And that in and of itself is beautiful. And you can't be normal to do that, right? I mean, you can't be a normal person to do what it is that you're doing. You can't think like a normal person. Thank God you're not, right? I mean,
Yes.
it's like
Yes. Right.
seriously, because
Right.
otherwise you wouldn't have been able to not only think, but then also create what it is that you create. And I think that that is just, it's a superpower that in many ways, I think society sometimes shuns down on because you're not following a certain society standards. But I've never followed society standards, thank God. Well, I should say
Great.
that I have, and every time I have this battle of like, oh, I should be doing this, and I should
Right.
be acting like this, and
Yes.
even though it's very difficult
Counter.
for it, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, it's very
Yes.
difficult. So I love that you're doing real estate now as well and looking to
Thank you.
be, but we have to do and find those outlets so that
Yes.
we can be creative. And I love that your personality is bigger than life and that you're able to just bring so much life and community to people. And I think it's beautiful. I think
Is
it's really
isn't
cool.
that what you found, Courtney? I mean, isn't that in part why you were chose to do this podcast? Like
100%.
it was just, you felt like, okay, I'm doing all these other things. They're fulfilling, they're rewarding. However, there's something more. There's another way that I need to express myself. There's another way I
Yes,
communicate. There's another way. I want to connect with people and tell their stories and invite them, right? And
exactly.
and you're really good at it, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. Well,
Yeah.
it's to me, I mean, I think that we just step into what it is that we're passionate about.
Right.
And with our background, I mean, you said that you've kind of navigated and it wasn't intentional to where it is you are today. But
Right.
I think that if you look back, there was that common
It was
thread. And
it was
that
a re
common thread is 100% you and your creativity. And you wouldn't have what you have today, and people wouldn't have the experiences that they have with your product and what it is that you do without having that creativity. I
yeah,
mean, if the
divine.
greatest artists were normal, then we wouldn't have great art,
Yes.
you know?
Yes. I tried so long. I think where you were going before, like, that idea of being a rule follower and conforming to society because that's what we're supposed to do to some degree, and standing out too much isn't appropriate.
Oh,
It
yeah.
don't
It's
be
not
too
appropriate.
showy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Who
did
do you
like
think you are, and why do you need that attention, and
right.
what is it that you're seeking? And you
Yes.
wanna just be like, "Well, I just wanna do this. Like,
I
I
just
just
want to
have this
breathe.
in me that it's
Yes.
not that I need to be seen, it's not that I need, affirmation, it's because I want to have a form of expression." And I think that that's where your creative outlet and what other people think of that creative outlet really is none of your business
That's
because
correct.
it has everything to do with who you are.
That's it.
And if you make other people feel uncomfortable because they don't have that.
Yeah.
And that's their problem.
Yeah, just not being normal. I've, not being average and playing small. It's if I think I've broken out at various times throughout my life, and there's been iterations of me, and it's been an evolution, okay? So I can't necessarily say it's all happened today or just even in the past year or 2, but there is a part of me that here at newly 60 years old, and I feel like a child again. I am the kid in the play box, in the
Amazing.
sandbox right now, just saying, "I don't wanna know what normal is. I just
Love it.
wanna be me,
Yeah.
and if I'm a freak, then I'm a freak."
Yeah.
Uh, and I'm embrace the freakiness,
Yeah.
and I love it. It makes it even more fulfilling when I meet a
And you know
fellow
you're not
freak.
alone.
Am not alone, and
Yeah.
that very language and how you articulate, how you're talking, it's like, I'm just hanging on every word because it's, you're one of you're one of me.
Yeah.
We're yeah, and it's comforting. It's spending a lifetime looking, "Where do I belong? Who are my people?" Trying to find tribe, and I've succeeded. I've had amazing people throughout my life, friends and family, and people that love me and have accepted me in spite of me not always accepting myself.
Yes.
Like, they knew me in some ways before I knew myself, and they
Yeah, of
loved
course.
me and accepted me, and so it's just this great.
And
I'm at an amazing time right now.
And many CEOs, I think, do feel, like this, because they
Sort
need
of
to be the lead.
outsiders.
Yes, a little bit of outsiders because they're being judged for everything that they do,
Right.
but yet, and you can't show too much of your, mania because
Right.
then it doesn't seem like you're not controlled,
Yeah.
but you are controlled, of course.
Exactly,
But it's
exactly.
that balance of being normal, but also having that visionary mindset. So how do you balance that? Who do you communicate that with when you have your highs and when you have your lows and having people really understand that? And that's again the reason why I'm doing the podcast, just to talk to like-minded individuals to really see again that common thread amongst us, which is, being unapologetic about being a maniac and embracing it in many ways, and knowing how to. Each of us have our own, um, coping mechanisms, I feel like.
There's something about them, this being a maniac that I'm just loving. I'm loving it. When you hear something couple 2, 3 times in short, I'm like,
Well, it's
"That's
something
really
that's
what
trying to reach you for sure.
it is."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna wrap it up real quick and have a
Okay.
quick fire round
It
with quick answers. So
okay.
I think it's just fun at the end. But
Oh, yeah.
okay, so success is
Freedom.
oh yes. Yeah, love it. Most people are chasing.
Love.
Oh yeah. God, right? Yeah, for sure. Clarity comes from
Balance.
okay, yeah, love that. The past only has power when
Sounds cliche when you allow it, but really what I'm trying to say is that, um, I am really one that's trying to live intentionally, mindfully in the moment, and so it's Ram Dass, "Be here now," and so, um, I think we can learn from our lessons and we can appreciate what our experiences is. It's the same I would answer the same way with, I don't have any regrets because every mistake I've ever made and everything has always taught me a vital lesson. And I've either decided that's never going to happen again. I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to be different.
one thing people should stop doing immediately.
Oh, just being mean, being unkind.
Yeah.
People should stop being unkind. Don't be a jerk.
Yeah. Totally agree. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Mark, I'm so grateful to meet you and I've loved this
Same.
conversation and definitely excited to just continue the conversation.
Me
And
too.
I'm excited that the audience is able to hear your perspective because I think it's real and raw and authentic. And I'm very grateful.
Yeah. Well, Courtney, I just want to give you a shout out here, and this is not me trying to blow smoke, but in our pre-interview, I shared something with you I hadn't shared. It was very new, and I want you to know your insight and your advice and your just thought. It wasn't even advice because you were very generous in just sharing, like, hey, here's a thought about that. Here's an idea, and left me with it. And what you left me with was profound, and I took it, and I'm at peace with
Oh,
that thing.
I have
So,
chills. I love it.
yeah.
Amazing. I love it.
Well, I do too. I do too,
Yeah.
and so I just want you to say, our motto is peace, love, and gigs, and that gig is to me is the thing that each one of us has been put on this earth to do
Yeah.
something or some things that are very unique and special that you're meant to do. You're doing your gig, Courtney.
Thanks. I
You're
appreciate that, Mark. Thanks so much.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
really sincere. Awesome. Amazing. Thank you.